whose DNA runs through you as far back as you can remember. You want to call out everybody you can think of and ask them to bless you, your lineage, our people, and our struggle at this critical crossroads of time on the planet Earth. So we gather in Congo Square. This was the place where the homeless Indians gathered even before the arrival of the French. This is also the area where 5 different Indian nations would gather to trade. And of course, when African people were brought here, this is sacred ground that they came to as well. Because under the Code Noir, the Black Codes, under the French who brought these Africans and the Spanish who also brought them, there was a relationship between the Catholic Church and France, Spain, and Portugal. And the Pope gathered them, I think, in 1452 or something like that, and said they could go anywhere on the planet Earth and take anybody's stuff and kill them if they weren't Catholic because they were heathens. And that unleashed the slave trade. Portugal went into Africa. Christopher Columbus, he says he was going to India, but they knew where they were going. Okay? And so under this Code Noir, as far as how it affected black folks was, African people, is that the first article of the Black Codes was all Africans were to be baptized Catholic within 30 days of arriving to a French, Spanish, or Portuguese colony. There were so many rules to this Black Codes, I'm not going to go into all of them. The 5th article, however, was that Sunday was a holy day, so French, Spanish, and Portuguese people did not work on Sundays, and that was extended to African people. So, how African people chose to celebrate and to convene this Sunday was that they came together to drum, to dance, to have marketplace, to sell with each other, to communicate with each other, honor their ancestors, but they had to get out of the city. The city was the French Quarter. The city was surrounded by ramparts. The word rampart is a French word that means wall or fortress. So it means the French Quarter was surrounded by walls. This was Fort St. Ferdinand. I think the U.S. Mint, that was a big part of the wall as well. What was it? That was Fort St. Ferdinand. Or this is Fort St. Which one was it? Which one was the U.S. Mint? That was Ferdinand. Okay. This is Ferdinand. What was it? What was
Fort St. Charles?
St. Charles, and I think it was the third one. So Africans came outside the city. Of course, this is where the Indians are already gathered as well. So this is sacred ground.
Amen.
So we call on our ancestors, and I'm going to bring to the microphone Sister Cheryl Roberts, to lead us in our libation and our prayer. At the same time, the Queens will be pouring water around the ancestral tree and also dancing in the counterclockwise direction. And maybe what we should do is everybody clap this rhythm. The Bambula rhythm. This is the rhythm from the Congo. It means to honor our ancestors. Queen Cheryl Roberts.
At this time, I'm going to ask that you consecrate your minds, consecrate your hearts, and think on our ancestors as we come today to pay homage and libation to our ancestors who've come before us and who've left legacies for us to live in peace, to live in harmony. And at this time, I'm going to ask you to think back in your mind, think back on your ancestors, think back on our family members, on the people who've come before us, who fought for our freedom, that we may have life and have life more abundantly. I'm going to ask that at this time, as we walk this circle, that you begin to call out those names. Amen.
I can't hear you. Call them out.
Long road. let's call out names for those who have led our struggle. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., call him out. Son Marlowe. Everyone say, Ashe. Ashe. Ashe.
As we play along with common outdated topics like slavery doesn't exist, it's been whited out. Well, don't I feel liberated? But I don't know freedom. Freedom. Do you know me? Am I important to you? Or just an affirmative act? Can I freely talk while still being black? And will you understand me as I speak rhythmic words that beat on your uncomfortable conscience? Listen to me, freedom, because I have words for you. Black words with a deep melanin tone that do not atone for just existing. Words that are scarred and whipped and chained only to break loose with a strong hand and a fervent prayer. Words from the past, reverb, bouncing off every corner, surrounding you. Words that are real and cannot be whited out. Because the color always bleeds through. Words with a history that is equal. So please do not try to separate it. I am not an option. I am concrete. I am finite. I am mandatory. And you deserve to know me. You deserve to know Juneteenth. And I deserve to know freedom.
Broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round. You can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I rise like the day. I rise unafraid. I rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I rise up, I like the waves. I rise up, in spite of the ache. I rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. Merry-go-round, you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I rise like the day. I rise unafraid. I rise up, The silence is quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Ooh, mountains, bring it to its feet. Mountains. For that we have each other, and we will rise, we will rise, we will rise, oh, we'll rise. I'll rise up, rise like the day, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I will rise 1,000 times again, and we'll rise up. I like the waves. We'll rise up in spite of the ache. We'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again. Keep on.
I say happy Juneteenth. Yes. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth. It's a celebration. We still have a long way to go, but people have paid the price. People have bled. People have died. People have sacrificed. And today we're here to remember our ancestors who imputed and imparted into us to carry this thing out. And today we're going to celebrate Juneteenth. We're going to remember every battle, every fight, because we're fighting not just for freedom, because freedom is also equality. Freedom is also social justice. We want equality. We want social justice. We want to be treated equally. And we stand today in unity. We stand today in love. We stand today in agreement, standing and believing that the fight is not over. The battle must continue. And we shall rise. We shall rise. We shall rise. We will now have a few spoken words from Mr. George, and we will close this out with a song from our dear friend Cole. And ladies, you all look absolutely beautiful. Queenish. The queen that you are. It is not just an appearance. It is a spirit that we must carry out in our act, in our sayings, in everything we do. Let's be the queens we have been called to be. Come in that order, please. Thank you.
Good morning, Queen Baby Dolls. Good morning. My name is George Bordenave, and Big Cat and I went to Clark together, Joseph S. Clark Senior High, and had to write down what I was going to say because I'm told over the past 48 years I talk too much. But you know, when you've been in the midst of it, sometimes you don't know how to shut up to tell a real story. Because folks don't tell a real story. They didn't teach us of any of the things of our ancestors. They didn't teach us that we were builders, that we were astronomers. They don't teach us that. So, look at my skin today. Look at the color of my skin today. It is a derivative of slavery, where someone took advantage of my great-great-great-grandmother. I'm proud of what I look like. I'm proud of who I am. And I'm proud of where I come from. Who even in those days played to believe we were better than our sisters and our brothers, and sometimes turned on each other. I began my career in 1972, 11/29/72, as a trade unionist. It was extremely difficult working for the Bell system at that time. Sometime around 71, the Bell system was ordered by the federal government to allow minorities, blacks and white women, to have access to work in more technical positions, higher paying jobs, and not just as an elevator operator, but like my great aunt, Alice, who was an elevator operator on Portrush and Barone. I spent 48 years representing people of all colors in the labor movement. I began as the first highest ranking officer in the Communications Workers of America in the South. I then went on to become the first black to hold the position of Director of Utilities in the city of New Orleans. Why do I tell you that? Because today is not about me, but about where we're at and where we need to go. The holiday which commemorates the emancipation of enslaved Africans has been celebrated with parades, barbecues, and other noteworthy events. But this year, in the wake of the demonstration set off by George Floyd's killing at the hands of Minneapolis police, we're in a much different place, despite COVID-19. Americans of all backgrounds are marching, holding sit-ins, car caravans to protest what's going on in America today. Thousands of people gathered at a religious rally in Atlanta. Hundreds marched from St. Louis Courthouse, which was my first assignment with the AFT 25 years ago, where the Dred Scott case partially played out. A pivotal case that denies citizenship to African Americans, but galvanized the anti-slavery movement. Folks throughout America are having voter registration drives to deal with the horrors that we're experiencing in America today. Here in New Orleans, many groups have demonstrated, marched, held rallies, and spoken out loudly against killings of innocent people, not only at the hands of police, but other violent people in America and throughout the world. Today, we are in the midst of extreme racism and injustice. Not that it never existed before, because 45 had a demented person, 45, orange-haired, a demented person has awakened and encouraged sick people and others to practice racial injustice and physical harm. He has said that it's okay to perform violent acts on others like no other president in American history. His ability to bring forth the hatred of frightened white Americans using his fear tactics has caused an even greater racial divide. Police brutality is nothing new in America. It happened to me decades ago. I was beaten by police on a parade route. Guess where we were? Jefferson Davis Parkway, when it took place, attending the parade with my family. Imagine that. Jefferson Davis Parkway. a street named after Confederate general and president of the Confederate States from 1861 to 1865. While we are demonstrating and holding rallies to rename JDP to Dr. Norman Francis, the President Emeritus of Xavier University, who was also a great civil rights leader and built Xavier University to what it's become today. Of course, kindly note that Dr. Francis was helped by many other people in the community. I used to see him on the road when I was in DC lobbying. He said, "George, when you can't stay still," I said, "Keep still." I said, "Bro, I'm too young to keep still." President Obama calls for police reforms and tells us to continue to make people in power uncomfortable. He doesn't think that protests erupting across the country are like those U.S. faced in 1968. He tells us that Richard Nixon was elected in '68 by campaigning on law and order in the wake of riots. Today we are not rioting and should be careful of giving 45 a platform of such rhetoric. President Obama also said, "You look at the protests today and they are far more representative of the cross-section of Americans out on our streets who has felt moved to do something because of the instance they have seen of injustice." As President Obama said, and I paraphrase, "Our marching is great, and I totally support those efforts. But the other step for change is voting." Yes. Today, whenever it takes on a new meaning for us, not only in America, but through the world, protesters march around the world because of inequality. Now that we have the attention of the world, we're not going to let this slide, said Christy Dean, director of Detroit's Office of Civil Rights, Inclusion, and Opportunity. If you're uncomfortable out here today in this heat, imagine George Floyd dying at the foot of the cop that killed him, pleading that he couldn't breathe and calling on his mother. I was the son of Louise Bordenave, who worked for $5 a day, cleaning, washing, cooking, and ironing. And I was the baby boy with 8 sisters who preceded me. And my mother came home after those rigorous duties and took care of us. She passed, and guess what, folks? I took care of my mama for 27 years, pardon me. Amen. We must continue to organize and mobilize. We must continue to protest. We must continue to make elected officials, black and white, and corporations feel uncomfortable. And we should boycott businesses as we did in the past that support those who are silent and donate to politicians, black and white, who don't care about us. Peace, but continue to march on, right in and make those folks uncomfortable. Vote in every election, local, state, and national. Peace.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm so happy that we're all together. I wish it were under better circumstances because there's a war against indigenous people right now. I said there's a war against indigenous people right now, but what's happening is that we're rising up. We're rising up by getting together in our communities. We're building together. We're rebuilding those hospitals that we used to have that were black owned. We're rebuilding those. We're rebuilding our gardens, our community gardens, our family gardens. We're invested in our children's education, so they don't have to come out of you for them to be your children. If you see them, you love them, and you know that they're going to be spreading the word of your community. So I'm going to sing a song that I don't even really like to sing anymore because I thought we were past this. So I want this song about changes to be the last space that we have to sing about a change is gonna come. I want us to sing this song in the future like, remember that time when we were singing this song and we can be nostalgic because now we are all free. And that's my dream, a dream where we can all just live together peacefully, where we can appreciate each other's differences and embrace them and be really honest and really transparent and really communicate. So I want us all to remember the least of ours. That's who I'm representing right now. Those people that can't speak for themselves, those people that couldn't stay at home because they never had a home before the pandemic. I was born by the river in a little tent, and oh, just like that river I've been running ever since, and it's been a long, oh yeah, a long time coming, and I know a change gonna come, oh yes, it will. Said it's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, and oh, I know I must be somewhere way beyond the sky, and it's been too long, a long time coming, and we know a change is gonna come, oh yes, it will. Said I go to the movies and I go downtown. I know I must be able to get around, and it's been a long, a long time coming. I know we know, yes we know. Said a change is gonna come, oh yes, it will. Yeah. Ooh. Then I go to my mother. I said, Mother, won't you help me, please? Oh, won't you? Oh, but she wound up knocking me, hey, right down on my hands and knees. Oh, there were times, times when I thought I couldn't last for long, but when I get home, I get on my knees. I know that I am able to get along, and it's been a long, a long time coming, and I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Amen. Amen. I say.